So as you think about what to talk about, you want to think about what they need and want to hear more than what you want to tell them.
I have needs too.
Get your questions answered by Deb and Jen.
Deb and Jen are at it again.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deb and Jen Show. I'm Coach Deb.
And I'm Coach Jen.
And we're so glad you're here today. This show is designed to help you grow your business and make money because our motto is, if you're not making money, you have a hobby, not a business, right? You design a business, you launch a business with the intention of making money. So if you're not making money or not making enough money, maybe it's a hobby and you're not treating it like a business.
It's my hobby.
Today, we thought we'd bring up the subject of speaking, specifically, how to use speaking as a marketing strategy to grow your business, how to monetize with speaking. So people often say, well, where do I begin? How do I start? What do I talk about?
Oh my God, where do I even begin?
Well, just one big reminder as we get going here, as we said on our very first show, to remind you that it's not about you.
It's always about you, isn't it?
It's about them. So as you think about what to talk about, you want to think about what they need and want to hear more than what you want to tell them. All right. So in that context, Jen, you've done a number of these workshops and presentations, outline them. How would you suggest someone get started, like picking the topic and then maybe outlining the steps that would be involved? Obviously, we can't, in 30 minutes, we can't go over constructing an entire presentation, but let's get them started with an eye toward, we're using this presentation as a marketing strategy to be in front of a lot of people and convert as many as we can to whatever our intended call to action is. So take it away, Coach Jen.
Fantastic. So when you're looking at speaking, and I'm not sure, again, if you have questions for attendees, if you have questions, you can stick them in the chat. We can always have an open discussion. But when you're thinking about using speaking, whether it's speaking live in front of an audience or speaking virtually, I want you to just take a couple of notes. So the intention of the presentation is to help someone understand that you have the solution to a problem that they're suffering with. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make when it comes to choosing their topic and outlining or deciding what content will go into the presentation is they tend to lean towards solving a problem. They tend to lean towards talking about the solution rather than establishing the problem.
I'm prepared with a solution.
So I want you to think about that. So if you've ever thought about, I'm going to do a talk, what do I know about? Okay, great. I know about how to get rid of headaches. So I'm going to do a talk on how to get rid of headaches. Well, the problem with that is that unless someone really identifies as someone who has headaches, who has a big problem, until they lean in and self-select and say, yeah, absolutely, I need to know more about this, the solution kind of falls flat. So let me give you an example. If I wanted to sell a headache program, let's say a 6-week course or mentoring program on how to get rid of your migraines, what I would not do is I would not design a talk that was all about like the science and neurology of headaches and remedies to fix headaches. And like I wouldn't do a full-blown solution-based event. What I would do is I would design a talk around the challenges that people face who are having migraine headaches.
God, I have such a headache.
So we would talk about their problem. I would educate them and help them to lean in and say, oh, wow, you know what? Maybe I do have some food triggers. Maybe stress is causing this. Maybe I do have a problem with my spine.
Hey, now I can identify with that.
So I would write a pain-based presentation. That's the difference. Pain-based versus solution-based. The solution is the thing that you're selling or offering at the end. And it can be tricky because you still want to provide value. It's not just pain, and that's it. And they walk away like, I didn't learn anything. You're still going to provide value. But I always say until the problem is established and agreed upon, until your audience is leaning in going, oh my gosh, this is a bigger deal than I thought. These headaches could ruin my life. Maybe I have something more serious going on. Until that problem is established with a problem-based presentation, the solution that you offer, it's going to land flat. It's going to, the people are not going to be as likely to sign up and say yes. So I want you to step back for a minute. When you think about the solution you're offering, what is the problem that your audience is experiencing? And perhaps make a list, like what are some of the challenges that are continuing, like perpetuating this problem for them? Is it their, their faulty neck posture? Is it they're sleeping poorly? Is it they're fighting with their spouse? Like, make a list. And then we'll move into how to design that and how to take that list and turn it into a talk. But the first thing I want to say, and I want to send this back to you, Coach Deb, is to just make sure that you're not jumping right into tell, solution without identifying the problem and really like thoroughly flushing that out. Coach Deb, anything else you would do?
Oh, yeah, a couple of things. Great start there. And I think it's so important to ripen the problem. And what we mean by this is people drag around their stuff all the time, and they've learned to live with it.
You learn to live with it.
And they sometimes have given up the hope that a better life or way or more money or whatever, or the perfect partner is even possible for them.
You go have fun.
So let's ripen the problem. Let's stay with migraines. Have you ever thought what your migraine headaches are costing you in terms of time with your family, being able to take vacations and enjoy them, being able to succeed at work and play full out without reservation because you've got this migraine that's once again slowing you down? I want you all to really consider, what is your migraine costing you? Let's just make a quick list. So what we're doing here is we're ripening the problem or pushing it back up to the surface where people can look at it squarely. And obviously they don't want to continue in that state. We hope they don't want to. And the next phase, which Jen will go into, is the outcome. What do you want instead? Because people don't buy the problem, they buy the outcome, right? They buy the quick fix often. Often there's not a quick fix for migraines. Maybe sometimes there is, but everybody wants the thing to be fixed. They want the outcome. So, all right, ripening the problem is really, really important. And you want to think about that. And if you don't know, and you're thinking of putting a presentation together, ask someone with migraines, hey, what are these migraines costing you? What's the downside of this? If you think back, now, how long have you been suffering with migraines? Wow, 5 years. This is an interview you're conducting with one of your target market. What do you think that's cost you over 5 years? And really add that up. Let's say you're pitching speaker training. How long have you been wanting to get out on stage and really share your message, but you've been too shy or lacked the confidence to do it? Wow, how much do you think that's cost your business over 5 years? Okay, so this is ripening the problem. We've talked before about the two Gold Coasts. People are here, they want to be here. Our solution is the bridge they walk over. But the tension that's created that causes them to buy is when this end of the problem is really ripened, and this end for the outcome that they want is crystal clear, exciting, visceral, then, there's a big gap now between where they are and where they want to be. So what do they want to do? They want to close the gap. That's what incentivizes them to take your offer that you present, which contains all your solutions, so that they can have the outcome that they want. I jumped ahead a little bit, but the important part there is, as you're thinking about the problems, to also think about the flip side, the outcomes that they truly want. And you can also ascertain that through a quick interview with your target market. Interview 2-3 people. Go look at books on Amazon where people are trying to resolve their migraines. You'll get some great information. Okay, Jen, back to you. So let's talk about, we've got the problems clearly defined, robust, totally, people can self-identify, self-select according to these problems. What's the next step?
Okay, so how I teach this is, once you've decided on a topic, the problem's defined. Like, so you're going to create a presentation that is problem focused. So I'm going to use a template to share with you, because it's probably the easiest way to really drive this point home. So I'm going to share with you the 3 massive mistakes template. There's so many ways you can title your presentation, but I want you to understand the structure, and then you can, I always say, you can get fancy after that. You can edit it and make it, your own after that. But for this example, I'm going to use 3 massive mistakes as a title, as a beginning of a title to a presentation, because I want to really help you to understand what a pain-based educational workshop or video looks like. So the example I'm going to use is 3 massive mistakes headache sufferers make that keep them struggling with migraine headaches. Okay. So it's canned, it's template, but you can start with it and turn into what you'd like. So what I would do in that case, if I know, let's say I've got 60 minutes for a presentation, one of the other mistakes that people make is they tend to try to cram as much content and information into that 60 minutes as possible. I want to encourage you to actually be very structured and formulaic and have a strategy and a plan. Because oftentimes at the end of the 60 minutes or 50 minutes in, the person's like, oh, I've got to like get to my offer and tell them what I have. So I'm going to give you a structure, and it's one blueprint, and you can modify from there. But if you don't have a blueprint, starting with a blueprint is the way to go, because then you can make it your own, and you're never winging it. I don't want you to be in a flow state. We'll talk about that later. So topic, right? Headaches. I've got headache sufferers. I want to sell a headache program. That's the end that I want to get to. I want them to say, oh my gosh, I need to hire Dr. Rada to help me with my headaches. So I'm going to say, great, what problems are headache sufferers suffering from? What are some of the biggest mistakes they might be making that are causing their headaches to keep being triggered? I would make a list then. I'm going to encourage you, think of your topic right now and make a list of what are all the problems and challenges that your audience may be facing. Right? Maybe some of the mistakes they might be making are they're just taking migraine headache medication. And every time they stop, the headaches come back. They're not drinking enough water, etc. So you make a list of all the potential problems. I call this like similar to what Coach Deb said, like it's an interview. I call it the Oprah interview. Like, oh, so tell me, what are some of the mistakes that migraine headaches might be making? Migraine headache sufferers might be making. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, tell me more about your problem.
So make a list of all the different problems or mistakes that migraine sufferers might be making in this example. Then in a 60-minute presentation, you could go up to 90 with this. I prefer 90, but we'll stick with 60 for now. In a 60-minute presentation, 3 data points, 3 main teaching topics is about the maximum you can do. You might even do a little less, but let's stick with 3 for right now. So in a 60-minute talk, 3 main teaching points. So what I would do is I would go through my list of all the different mistakes these migraine sufferers may be making, and I would pick out the top 3 that I feel like are going to be the most uncomfortable for them, the most top of mind, and also that position the purchase of my program.
These are great points.
Right.
Well,
So,
and also, just to add one more thing, that was good. 2 things. Let's add a third that would apply to the majority of people.
yes.
Like, don't pick the far-flung ones that only 1 or 2 people have. The ones that seem to be the most prevalent.
Yes, right. Common. The ones that you people are going to be, it's a safe bet, right? That they're going to be nodding their head, yes, that your ideal client. So if you've got an audience that would never consider essential oils or something like that, like don't put it in there.
We took essential oils.
Right. But in any case, so you make a list of all the different mistakes they may be making, then pick your top 3. You can save the others for later. Maybe you'll use them in social media marketing or something else, or maybe you'll never use them. So then I gather my 3 data points, my 3 teaching points, and begin to organize content around those teaching points, all leading up to me making an offer at the end. And Coach Deb, do you want me to give you want to interject? Do you have anything else that you'd like to pop into creation of data points or how to choose your content?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of things here. One thing that can be very powerful after you come up with this outline is, let's say you have these 3 data points, problems. They could be what it's costing them. There's all kinds of things you can do there. The sky's the limit. But one very powerful thing you can do to your presentation is give a testimonial of somebody, even if it's an article that you read, like not drinking enough water. I recently read an article in AARP that said, or quote some reliable source, that the average American drinks only 37% of the water they need every day. And that this is a major cause, blah, blah, blah. In other words, insert something that adds credibility to your point. Mm-hmm. Also, the best though, if you have a client testimonial or a case study of someone you've worked with, let's use the case of migraines, insert it in one of your points.
Trust me on this.
If you have something for each of your points, whoa, people are going to go, wow, she's been doing this a while. She really knows her stuff. This is someone who really gets results.
No one can argue with that.
Who argues with that?
Right? Because remember, people are buying the results. They're not buying the problem. They get interested because you state the problems that you solve, but they're buying the results. So anytime you have results from working with people, insert them and say, just last month I was working with a guy or a gal or whoever. You don't even have to give their real name for confidentiality purposes, but state, and this was their situation. We all of a sudden looked at it as we had him do a daily water journal. I'm totally making this up on the spot. And we realized, lo and behold, he was barely drinking any water every day. We put him on a regimen. We had him set his watch or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And after 3 weeks, his migraines virtually disappeared.
You look like a new man. You like a new man.
Now, what could you do with some accountability and some monitoring on your water intake? Pose a question. Let it hang in the air. Okay. All right. So that was my little bit to add there on your 3 points to amp up your credibility and especially your capability in terms of getting the results that people are really looking for.
I'm certified.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Brilliant. Okay, good. And I was smiling because I had a chiropractic patient once, this is totally an aside, who told me after about 2 weeks that he had not had a glass of water in 8 years. And I blurted out, I'm like, how are you alive? What are you drinking?
I'm thirsty.
And he's like, I drink Diet Mountain Dew and coffee. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. You're killing me. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes. So back to the topic. So I'm going to give you also a structure right now for how to build out your data points, and what Coach Deb shared, you can plug into this structure. So how I build out a data point, I'm going to teach you how to do it. And again, there are multiple ways, but I'm going to show you one way to be successful at it. So let's say, for example, I'm going to make this up right now. The 3 topics I chose for mistakes that headache sufferers are making. Perhaps I chose not drinking enough water. I may have chose, hang on a second, hoping it'll go away, like the hope method. So not enough water, hoping it will go away, and ignoring stress. Hopefully I remember those in a minute when I go back to go through these. So what I'm going to do with those 3 topics is I'm going to take my expertise and build it into a structure that is, if you write this down, these are the 3 bullet points. It goes underneath each topic. So you got topic 1. Underneath that topic, I want you to write down what, why, how.
You're talking about data point 1, not topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the 3 data points under your topic. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. Yep. So topic is the talk, the pain-based talk, the 3 massive mistakes headache sufferers make that keep their migraines coming back. The data point number 1 is not drinking enough water. Maybe I could just call it dehydration. That's not the sexiest title for it, but that's what we're going to call it for right now for the first data point. And then I'm going to write what, why, how underneath that data point. And we'll talk about building it out in a second. But you go on to data point 2, what, why, how. Data point 3, what, why, how. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you what I mean by that. What, why, how. So for example, if dehydration is my first data point in this presentation, under what, I'm going to literally say, okay, so point number 1, we're going to talk about the 3 massive mistakes that headache sufferers, migraine sufferers the mistakes that they make that keep their headaches from ever going away or keep their headaches coming back. So the first thing I want to share with you today is we're going to talk about dehydration. Here's the what do I mean by that? Well, did you know that most people get only 37% of the water they need every single day, and that dehydration, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm going to talk about what I mean by dehydration. Why, second step here under data point number 1, why does it matter? Why should we care? So if you're writing this down, you write, what do I mean by that? And then you're writing, why does it matter? Under why does it matter, you could also talk about the consequence of, like, what if you don't care about hydration? What if you never drink a glass of water again? What are the consequences? Like, why does it matter? So I've got what do I mean by dehydration? Why does it matter if you even listen to me on this topic? And how can I remedy this? How can I not suffer from dehydration? And that's where I'm going to give my teaching content for that data point. I'm going to say, well, so how can you fix this? How can you get enough water during the day? Well, I've got a quick list of 5 things you can do easily during the day that can help to hydrate you. Right? So that's my how. Now, when I'm building out data point 1, data point 2, I want to provide great content, but I want to make sure that I stay on time. So let's go back for a second and imagine that 60-minute clock. and we can go further into this maybe in a bit, but data point 1 and 2 are probably going to get about, let's say in 60 minutes, maybe they get 10 minutes each. Okay. And I get to data point 3, and data point 3 should be like kind of the crescendo, the one that most perfectly positions the purchase of your program. Try to say that forwards and backwards.
Positively perfect past play, penny pasta.
So data point 3, you're still going to do what, why, how, right? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by, ignoring stressors? Why is it important to not ignore stress? And then how do you manage stress? The beauty of data point 3 is that now I'm leading into the offer. So the how is going to become join my program, buy my stuff, take the next. How can I remedy this? How can I not suffer from dehydration? And that's where I'm going to give my teaching content for that data point. I'm going to say, well, how can you fix this? How can you get enough water during the day? Well, I've got a quick list of 5 things you can do easily during the day that can help to hydrate you. Right. So that's my how. Now, when I'm building out data point 1, data point 2, I want to provide great content, but I want to make sure that I stay on time. So let's go back for a second and imagine that 60-minute clock. And we can go further into this maybe in a bit, but data point 1 and 2 are probably going to get about, let's say in 60 minutes, maybe they get 10 minutes each. Okay. And I get to data point 3, and data point 3 should be like kind of the crescendo, the one that most perfectly positions the purchase of your program. Try to say that forwards and backwards.
Positively perfect past play, penny pasta.
So data point 3, you're still going to do what, why, how, right? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by, ignoring stressors? Why is it important to not ignore stress? And then how do you manage stress? The beauty of data point 3 is that now I'm leading into the offer. So the how is going to become join my program, buy my stuff, take the next step with me, click on this link, book a phone call. I'm going to start leading them naturally from the last data point into why now they need to take action to purchase the solution.
Wow, that is clever.
So that's how I build out a structure. That's the basics of it. Coach Deb, should I turn it on back to you? Anything else you would do differently or you would add?
Well, in addition to the what, why, how, you can insert your client stories or a statistic, some way to amplify your point. The testimonials or case studies are the best for the reasons we already stated. Also, I like to reiterate my points. All right, so we talked about dehydration. What's next? Okay, so you kind of do a quick summary to remind them. It's amazing how distractible people are. Their phone goes off, something happens in their office.
Squirrel.
So reminding them along the way, okay, we've talked about 1, we talked about 2. Third point I wanted to bring up today is X. And again, the what, why, how, I wanted to backtrack a little bit and say, one of the tricks you can do when even if you're not allowed to sell from stage, you can say, I've interviewed 50 people on migraines, and believe it or not, there were a total of 50 different mistakes that people make. I'd love to share them all with you, but Lord knows we don't have time. So I picked the 3 ones that I think will resonate with you the most. What does that do? It tells them that you have a lot more information to share that could help them, but you just don't have the time today. Nobody likes to, it immediately creates FOMO, but I want to know what the other ones are. What if all of mine are the other ones? Okay. So that's a little trick you can do at the outset. You can also do it in any of your data points, your 3 data points. There's 52 ways to rehydrate every day. Let me share 3 or 4 of those with you right now. Right, those are wide examples. I might not say 54, but the idea is you let them know there's a lot more to this than what you're presenting in that moment, without taking the time to go through them all, which would just be a long, boring list anyway.
But we want to know everything.
I have a slight different approach in the call to action, segueing. Your last how is great. And I would reiterate the 2 hows or the outcomes that are created with the 2 hows that you did previously. So we've looked at dehydration, how that can make the difference between how you feel, how you operate. We've looked at stress. why ignoring stress is at your own peril, and what paying attention to stress and being mindful of some therapies to reduce stress, blah, blah, blah. And number 3, we looked at, stress was number 3. We looked at hope as a strategy that too many people use, thinking things will go away or it will never happen to me in the reverse. Altogether, we've realized that if we can become more mindful or more conscious of just these 3 things, we can completely change the way that we feel. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, I've got 22 strategies for dealing with migraines. We've gone over 3 of the biggest ones today. I would love to share more with you. And this is your segue. This is I'm doing what the segue I would do. I'd love to share more. Which is why I've created a fantastic program for migraine sufferers and used my 25 years of experience in tackling and helping people overcome migraines. I've put all of my best knowledge, all of my best strategies into one program over 6 weeks, and it's called Then You Present Your Offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. It's good to review. Like, here's what I've told you. And there's this thing in every presentation. I call it the challenge. The challenge comes when I'll describe what it is. Actually, we'll do what I have a little bit. So what is the challenge? The challenge is this understanding by your audience that if they choose to not work with you, or they do nothing, or they hire someone else, or they think about it, or they do anything other than move forward and book a call or invest with you, etc. They take the next step with you. If they do anything else, the challenge is like, it's helping them to understand that if they do nothing, or they choose to hire someone else, or go off and do anything other than hire you, that they likely will still continue to suffer with the problem. So I'll give you an example of positioning a challenge. So for example, let's see if I can get in the headspace. Positioning a challenge around migraine. So great. So we've talked about hydration. We've talked about hope as a strategy. We've talked about stress, right? Stress. I often will use a transition like, now you have a choice. I like that transition. Now you have a choice. You can take what I've taught you. You can work on your hydration. You can be proactive. You can reduce your stress and hope, again, that your migraines go away. But what I've seen is, so the challenge is like, now you have a choice. You can continue to go about and Google it and YouTube it and try to figure it out. But then I drop the truth. But what I know, or what I've seen working with hundreds or thousands of clients, is that until you get to the source and you have a strategy around, addressing the cause of this problem, chances are you're going to continue to suffer. So that's how I position the challenge. So the goal of the challenge is to help people to realize that if they don't move forward with your strategy, they're likely to continue to suffer. And I want you to be honest with it. There's no BS. Like, we're just really, if you mean it, say it. So that's the challenge. The goal is, it's almost like a little splinter that later on, even if they don't take the next step, they can't stop thinking, oh my gosh, I know she said that if I didn't get these things right, and I didn't have a real program, and I didn't get to the source of the problem. So it's a big deal as far as motivating people to actually take action.
Yeah, it becomes a hangnail that bothers them. Yeah. So, 100%. We could do a whole session, and we probably should, on calls to action, because there's lots of different kinds, lots of different segues to move into a call to action. And what is a call to action? It's if you're speaking to monetize, to market your business, grow your business, and ultimately make an offer that brings in income. You have to have an effective call to action. It has to be powerful. It has to incentivize them to get off the bench. You have to make it a no-brainer for them to say yes. They have to be so excited about the possibility of what can happen for them. Remember, they buy the outcome. They're not buying the problem. You have to state your problem so that they can self-select, self-identify. Yes, this is the right place for me. She totally gets it, understands it. But in the end, they're going to buy your solution, the correction. They're going to buy the outcome that your solution creates for them. Okay. They're not even going to buy your solution necessarily. They're buying the outcome your solution creates for them. So every call to action has to be outcome driven. And like, I love the choice. You call it the challenge. I call it the crossroads. And I just use the slightly different language, and we'll unfortunately have to end with this today, but I say so. Essentially, you're all at a crossroads.
Where should we go?
You can go left and continue doing what you're doing.
You take the blue pill.
Research videos on YouTube, try to read some books on Amazon, talk to other friends who have migraines, and pretty much I can guarantee you're going to get the same results you have now. Or you can turn right.
You take the red pill.
And presumably you've already done your offer. And you can try out a whole new system, a framework, and enter a community of those of people who are of like mind and who have the same purpose and are driven in the same way that you are to once and for all solve their migraines. You can be held accountable. You can get the shared results of everybody by being together in a group, and you can completely change how you're feeling each and every day and reduce the number of migraines that you have and get back to having a life of vitality, of vibrance, and of fun, basically, because who has fun with a migraine? No one.
How can they refuse?
All right. So that's the left versus right path. And the little double entendre there is if you take the right path. That's one of my favorite calls to action is the left versus right. I think it's very similar to yours, Jen, of the challenge. Yeah, do nothing and get nothing, or take this offer, which I've explained to you is phenomenal. And your call to action, by the way, just sidebar, has to have case studies in it. Okay. Or examples of people who've succeeded.
My headache's completely gone.
We have to wrap it up because we're down to the end of our time, but I think we should do a call sometime just on calls to action, as I mentioned.
Sure. We definitely should. Like, I think, and again, if you have anyone else with questions, you can stick them in the chat, or even if you want to
send them to us. It could be questions with the Deb and Jen show.
Absolutely. I think we should do a show for sure on calls to action, like how to actually make the offer, to go through the offer. That's so many speakers I know, even when they get the structure right, even when they get the topic right, they've got a pain-based topic, they have their data points. They practice and rehearse, but they don't practice and rehearse all the way through to the very end. They don't practice and rehearse their call to action. Here's what my program is. Here's how you get it. They don't go through all of that. They kind of think, oh, then I'll just tell them what it is.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So,
you cannot win a call to action. It has to be sophisticated, strategic. You have to have your points lined up, etc.
It's diabolical.
It's another whole topic.
I'd rather you wing everything else than your call to action. If I had to choose, wing everything else and don't wing your call to action.
Exactly. All right. So to summarize, 60-minute talk, 5 to 7 minutes for an intro, 10 minutes for each of your data points. That's 30. So now you're at 37. You got 10 minutes for a conclusion, a wrap up, a segue, and then 10 minutes for your call to action. People always say, should I do Q&A? Topic for another day. Sorry, we ran out of time, but we'll get you there. If you have any questions about this general structure for a talk, and it could be a webinar, it could be a live in-person talk. The formula is pretty much the same. You can mix things up, change the order a bit, but we can get into that another time. So in closing, thank you so much, Coach Jen. It's such great info. Remember, if you're not making money, you have a hobby, not a business. We're here to help you grow your business. Today, it was about speaking, using speaking as a marketing strategy to get in front of more people, to have more people aware of what you do so that they want to enter into your tribe, your community, learn from you, and prosper themselves. All right. Any final comments there, Jen? Are we good to go?
I think we're good to go. If you have questions, send us your questions. We're happy to help. And I've got some cheat sheets we should share. We'll do it later. I don't have them right now. I don't have the links right now, but I've got some cheat sheets on talk structure, so we can get some of those out as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. And we'll see you next time. That's all for now. Bye.